All right. Good morning. We're here at the Bipolar Sunrise. I'm your host, Garrett Nichols.
I'm Ryan Sullivan.
We've got with us here this morning John Armstrong Jr. and Nathan, say your last name.
Inabne.
That's why I didn't say it.
Stupid last name. Stupid last name.
I don't, German?
Yes.
Neanderthal.
Switzerland, yeah.
Switzerland, Germany. Okay, well, anyway, we're going to do a little bit different format this morning. We got some friends. We probably won't necessarily be talking about mental illness. You'll just see the mental illness live and in person. So typically what we'll do is we'll do a Facebook Live for this, but we've got a YouTube channel, the Bipolar Sunrise YouTube, and we're going to start uploading videos to that, and then we'll share them to Facebook so people can see. We'd like you to come subscribe to our YouTube channel. At some point, if we get, I think it's 50 followers, and we get some videos on there, we can go live from YouTube, but at this point, they don't trust us yet, and probably after this video, they still don't trust us. So, we don't have anything. We didn't get together beforehand to discuss what we were going to talk about today. We're just going to shoot from the hip. Raw dogging, as Ryan so crudely would put it. I would not speak that in that manner, but you know, what's good for him is good enough for me, I suppose. So here we go. Let's thank our sponsors, Mod's Tattoo Company, Nature's Paradise, Emporia Training Center, Emporia Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's it. And if you want to be a sponsor, you can reach us, contact us at thebipolarssunrise@gmail.com.
Nailed it.
Got it this time.
Nailed it.
Yeah. I don't like to brag, but my memory is like a tack stuck in a wall somewhere. All right, so let's get started, gentlemen. I guess I can start us off by asking you guys, have you heard of a podcast host named Daryl Cooper? Any of you? I've been listening to it's a 6-part series called Fear and Loathing in the New Jerusalem. And the premise of this, I'm not exactly sure because I heard him on a podcast speaking of some different, he was talking about the Jim Jones. He did a whole write-up on Jim Jones. So he's sort of a historian, but he digs way deeper than what you would normally see in the history books are not always what what actually happened. And so he does a ton of research into these subjects. And Fear and Loathing in the New Jerusalem it starts out talking about the thousands of years of oppression of the Jewish people and their community and how it starts out. I can't do it any justice because he says, close your eyes and I want you to imagine you're going to work and you are seeing people looking at you out of the corner of their eye. There's whispers. It seems to be getting worse. Not knowing exactly why your friends and neighbors are looking at you in a different light than maybe they did before. Your kids are getting picked on at school. You come home and your kids have questions that you just can't give them the answers to. You eat dinner, you notice some noise outside of sort of a restless group. You go to bed that night and you're laying there awake, hearing the noise of a crowd getting closer, seeing the lights of torches. You hear some crashes, but you're laying there hoping that it's just a dream, knowing that in fact it's not a dream. You are now out of bed looking at the window and noticing now a mob getting closer to your house. At this point, you see a neighbor down the street getting drug out and beat in on his sidewalk. And then the ultimate fear, your door is kicked in. Now you and your wife, your son and daughter are drug out into the street. you're trying to explain, that there's nothing wrong, everything's okay, and then cracked over the skull with a club. You wake up, you can see from across the street, your wife's being raped, your son's laying in a heap below two men, bloodied and battered, your daughter's being held with two arms spread out, making her watch her mom be defiled, wanting to go and help her when you hear two teenage boys and look over to see two young men coming out of your house that have just looted your house, and then the lights go out for good. And then that's how it starts. This is a Jewish man and his family, and this is before World War One. This is during Stalin's reign, and so it starts out in the early 1800s, and then so far I'm up to I haven't even made it into the turn of the century yet. This is just now where Zionism is getting started, and the Jews of Europe are trying to find their land in where are they having the war? Palestine. They're trying to go to Palestine, and in the Bible or in the Jewish Bible or the Christian Bible, I'm not sure which, because
You said this is a 6-part series podcast?
yeah, it's like two hours. So far I'm like 3 or 4 hours in, and I'm only in the second episode, so like 2.5 hours per episode. It's wild. I mean, so because we all know about the history of World War One and World War Two and the oppression of the Jews in Europe, but it goes much deeper than that. And then I was like feeling pretty horrible and still do, for the way that these people were treated. I mean, you can't imagine the stories. I won't get into it, like you watch it yourself, but just story after story of these. I think there was something like 300 villages had been inhabited by these mobs, and this is what was going on everywhere. So that, like, this one family, they escape, right, and they get out of their house and they're running down the street and they've been attacked. They see a police officer and they run up to him and they start explaining the situation, like, these people are after us, and next thing you know, the policeman gets out a club, and he's also one of the oppressors. And they would essentially, like, the police would get the mobs. They would, if you had a cross on your door, that would usually be enough to keep the mobs and the police away. And the police would point to known Jews' houses, and they're supposed to be protecting them, but there was no plan. There was no plan to protect the people. They were, matter of fact, in on it, looting themselves. So story after story of the oppression, and then it starts to talking about the Zionists and how the Zionists are now trying to form. There's no internet. There's no. I mean, you send a letter, it's weeks and months for a letter to get, especially overseas. And they're trying to form a group to find a place for basically the European Jews that have been oppressed. And he kind of bounces back and forth, but he pretty much sticks to a timeline, but he gives you some sort of understanding of why this happened in the 1940s, because of what happened in the 1800s, and how the Zionists are starting to try to bring Jewish people back to, what the hell did I just say? Where did I just say? Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
But Palestine's inhabited by the Arabs because it's an Arab country, but according to the scripture, that was the promised land to the Jewish people. So now they're trying to, they're forming a coup. The Zionists are trying to overthrow the Arab country so that they can have the land. And that's where we're still at today with the Gaza Strip, and you got Hamas and Israel. It's wild. It's a wild story, and I didn't have a good understanding. The only thing I understood was World War II and the mass genocide of the Jewish people. Mm-hmm. It goes back thousands of years before that, like the Jewish people being oppressed, and I don't know why. I'm not sure why. It seems like on the grand scheme of things, the Jewish people are not. But he's never alluded to why that nobody liked the Jews. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, right. So I'm still trying to understand, like, what did they do that's so bad? Because it's basically, essentially, you're a Christian. It's like Christianity and Judaism is the same. They get their scripture from the same book, right?
Well, he was king of the Jews.
Who?
Jesus.
Oh, well, you see what happened to him.
Yeah, that's
He
why
was
they're
the
mad. Because he
Is that why?
crucified the.
Ish. The Hebrew people have a long history of being
Violent.
oppressed. They
Violent. I like that. How you're like,
they started out in Egypt as slaves, and then they go into their promised land, and they set up, they conquer, and then lots of different nations come in, and
the Romans and
like every single time they disobey God, God allows people to come in and oppress them, and then and through that, and it happens multiple times throughout their rich history, and I don't know why everybody hates them, but
God's letting it happen. It sounds like
Well,
somebody they're messing up.
It's meant to bring them back to God, and it does. After they start following God again, they do a rebellion, and they kick everybody out of their land again, and then they're good for several years, and then they mess up again. They start following other gods and stuff like that, and then another country, another nation comes in and oppresses them, and it's just a long history. That's what it's just a long history of being oppressed, and then just constantly fighting
The
for their
entire
land.
history.
Yeah,
I mean, from the start.
from the start.
From as far back as we at least
Huh.
know, at least in the scripture, the Jewish religion or the Jewish people have been oppressed, and it is because, I mean, at least from what you're describing, because God's like, hey man, get back in line.
Yeah,
And they're not getting back in line, so God had Hitler's blessing essentially on this?
well, I wouldn't say that, but it's
Or Hitler had God's blessing on what he was doing, mass
And-
genocide of the Jews, if it's...
I think that for the most part, I think the reason why everybody hates him is, well, I don't think everybody hates him, but
I think a lot of people do. I mean, it's what it
because-
looks like.
Like today?
Historically.
Still? Or just
Yeah,
history?
today still. Like right now, it's going on in Hamas. Just did a big attack. I mean,
On the Jews?
they're God's chosen people, and they're the thing that they're the representation that everybody is supposed to follow, and I think they're supposed to be the light that shows everybody that. But a little bit changed after Jesus came, because that was the Messiah that was promised from the beginning, and he was the Messiah that was
his
promised.
sacrifice essentially freed them from this oppression, or it should have, but didn't
Yeah.
work.
And
Very
For
well.
your sins.
Yeah.
and the Christian religion is based upon it was so the Jewish people were supposed to bring God to the world basically, and Jesus was the branch that was supposed to bring the Gentiles, which is everybody else, into into God's chosen people. And so the Jews that believed in Jesus and believe in Jesus now, they're a part of the new nation, the chosen nation now, and we're able to be a part of the chosen nation because of Jesus. And then the ones that don't believe, they kind of miss the Messiah. And so that's the New Testament is the part where our scriptures are different than the Hebrew Bible. Like, so it kind of splits off there, and I don't know why everybody still hates the Jews.
So this is kind of a weird question, and I think we've had this conversation before. So I've heard people being Jews and Jewish. Is that, or
both. It's a religion and a race.
In a race. So is it more of a religion, and those people follow it? So they kind of have these characters where they bring into Hollywood, like.
Oh yeah, Adam Sandler, Seth
Yeah.
Rogen. They're all Jews.
So Jewish,
So there's a race,
but not
a
the
nation,
same thing.
which is the Jewish nation. And if you're a Jew and you still follow that, then you're following the Jewish religion. And then you have your Messianic Jews, which are the ones that are Jews but believe that Jesus was the Messiah that was
Okay.
promised. And then you have, and the Jewish religion still thinks there's going to be a Messiah.
So I guess in different religions, there's always like a spin-off, but still being Jewish religion. I guess I never really thought of it that way.
Yeah, but the Jewish people, like as far as the Jewish, if you have like, what would you say, Jewish blood, if there's no, like you can say I'm German, from Germany, but what we know of as Turkey today was where Noah landed his ark. It wasn't called Turkey at the time because they're Turkish people now, but they would have been, I don't know what race Noah was. It gets a little tricky there. Some people think he was a 9-foot giant derived from a Nephilim, you know, like a god bred with a human, and then Noah's here. I mean, I just saw this on the internet the other day, but it was pretty cool. Like Noah's actually standing there, and there's people, normal sized people standing next to him, and he's like 9 foot tall. That which would give me a better understanding to like how he fit every species of animal onto the ark, because he was 9 foot tall, so he would have had to have a giant ark to like a regular 6-foot guy. Or back then, what was the average height? Probably would have been like 5 foot or something.
Yeah, it's not
They were
like you just
short.
asked him to get on the ark. He just went over and grabbed him.
You had to,
Chuck
like if
him
you
on
had a
there.
big old bull, because they had like back then, dude, they had the small faced bear that was like stood up 11 foot tall on its hind legs. It was 6 foot at the shoulders or 9 foot at the shoulders, some shit like that. The giant faced bear. So you had much bigger animals back when Noah was getting there. You'd have to be big to wrestle imagine wrestling like a 4,000 pound lion.
Yeah, I could do it.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to come out with some scratches. Dude, they're not going to play nice. Or maybe they were more docile
Maybe.
back in those days. Anyway, regardless, we kind of got us off on a tangent there, but that's what I've been kind of listening to here the last couple of days, and it's very interesting, and I wish that I had better recall and a better memory, and I could kind of spout off some of the names that he spoke about, aside from Stalin, and hasn't even gotten into Hitler and that, because it was bad during Stalin's time. Like you can imagine, like you're just laying in bed and all of a sudden the mob's there and you're toast, like you can't get away, like you're trying anything, and then the starvation and the amount of people that the way that he describes it and the way that other historians had documented this stuff was like okay, so we're all sitting here and tomorrow we're gonna have a normal day, and the day after that it'll be a normal day, and say that we did something when we were younger, we stole from somebody, you live with that, and but you don't ever come back the same from going into a starvation, like a ravenous starving state, and kill your kids and eat them, and then when you come out of that starvational rage, you're like, oh, okay, that was just the time. I screwed up, but you're never the same. Like, and this is what these people had to deal with many times. Like, you're dealing with, imagine just being some sort of abuse happening to you over and over for the majority of your life. Like, you don't come back from that. There's no, oh yes, I messed up when I was a kid, but I'm an older now. No, like you ate people. You were forced essentially into cannibalism from extreme starvation. I don't know. So that's he paints the podcast or the history of the oppression of the Jews in that light, and it just really, the way he describes it is like, holy cow! I just did not take it in that way. I just was thinking, yeah, there was a lot of genocide that happened to the Jewish people after World War, like 1949. No, man, it's been going on for, the
1,000 years, it sounds
over
like.
over 1,000 years, like probably like since the Bible was, written. It was happening before then, before they were documenting, or at least that specific piece of documentation, which is the Bible.
How old is the Bible supposed to be?
6,000 years or something.
Does that sound right, Nate?
I don't know
You
exactly.
don't know. There's no dates written in it. I mean, there is AD, BC, AD, but I think that's speculation. How would you know? The history of time, according to theology, right? Like the Earth's only 6,000 years old.
6 to 10, yeah.
But with carbon dating, and maybe the science is wrong with carbon dating, but carbon dating says that there's 6,000 years is even the tip of the iceberg. Like explain the dinosaur bones. Then they're and this and that and the other. I don't know. I'm not going to argue.
Speaking of
I don't
which,
know how old it is.
has anybody seen any new stuff on the pyramids? I got some people tagging me some stuff in the pyramids. Apparently they went down so far and found like copper or
No. They have all underneath all the pyramids in Giza. They have these spiral structures that are like coils
maybe that's what he was
that
talking
go
about.
down about a mile or so into the earth, and then there's structures underneath those columns. So the pyramid that we see, that's 400 foot tall, 2,300,000 stones cut to exact precision.
Yeah.
It even goes deeper than that. And a lot of people have had the theory of the power plant, it being some sort of
Power station.
a power station to harness some type of electricity, maybe that's foreign to us as far as we know, alternating current and direct current,
You said a mile
over a mile
down?
down. Columns that are
Hey.
giant columns, obviously, that are holding all these pyramids up, and they stretch not just under the Great Pyramid,
So they're not
but all the pyramids.
copper or anything like that?
I don't know about that. They use some kind of a technology that's like a vibrating. It's not LiDAR. It's not radar. It is a type that uses the vibrations of something close by, the vibrations of the earth or whatever.
Well, that's what they've
And
always
it
been
can-
talking about for years, how they move these stones, you get in this, everything's got a vibrating something, right?
Yeah, the right frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. And
And
Earth's
that's
got
how
its
they
own
cut 'em.
frequency, of course.
They may, if you can find the right frequency with granite, you could potentially be able to mold the granite. This is the theory, one theory, that it wouldn't be cutting the granite, you could actually mold it. You could, but I don't know, because there's never been any tools found, never, not one single tool. And then a lot of historians like to point to dynastic Egyptians to say that they created the pyramids, but a lot of things, if you look, you can clearly see that some stuff, like, okay, this pharaoh came in and then he had people engrave onto the granite over the top of what was already there, and it's crude in comparison to what, I mean, the curves and the lines and the smoothness of some of these statues still to this day. And then you got somebody that just looks like they took a piece of an arrowhead and scratched their name on it, like in sandstone. It's very crude, and it's like, clearly, yeah, it says king, whatever, but why did he hire these guys that couldn't carve, but he made these beautiful statues and then carved some bullshit down at the bottom?
Right.
Have
It's
you
like,
guys
that
heard
doesn't make
anything
sense.
about this? Like, I just found out about it this week.
I saw posts where it talked about him going down.
Yeah,
But I haven't looked into it or anything.
that's what I'm doing today. Going a deep dive on that.
Well, this is going to change everything. I mean, from mainstream academia's point of view, the dynastic Egyptians used these pyramids as tombs, even though there's never, ever, ever been any single.
Why the hell were we taught that as kids?
Because I don't know, the Illuminati, bro. I'm guessing. I mean, I think what has happened is Egypt gets a vast part of the revenue into their country from tourism. And people believe that the pyramids and the pharaohs and the dynastic Egyptians did this they supposedly built according to mainstream academia, the pyramids were built in 24 years with slave labor. Well, imagine that we all got taken over right now, and now we're slaves. Any of you guys stonemasons? No,
I
and
played
neither
a
were
few
they.
blocks.
It would have to be generationally. You would have to lay a stone every 10 minutes for like 100 years to get all those stones in there. That'd be cutting them, and then they have to be cut to the precise geometry, because if you fuck up on the bottom of the pyramid, it's gonna be wonky at the top. It had to be so precision, and it's facing true north. All the astrological signs, it lines up with all these different
Stars.
yeah, I mean,
patterns and
and you just taught these slaves how to do that? I don't think so.
Well, if we're gonna hypothesize,
Yes, let's do it.
you have Adam and Eve, and then they lived for 800 years, and then the whole, and then they had kids, and then there was a big nation. All of them lived a really really long time. They made a big, let's say the guy who invented the light bulb lived for 800 years. Just imagine what the light bulb would be now. So these people are inventing, creating, and all of this stuff, and then they make this giant. They have the whole Earth as their playground, and then so they live a long time, and they create civilizations, and then they piss off God, and then that's what the flood is, and God brings back Earth to Noah's family, and so then restarts everything. But they had technology. They could have had technology that was way beyond anything that we have now.
well, obviously
Clearly-
there has been.
clearly they
the
did.
pyramids is kind
Yeah.
of proof of that.
And that's why there's structures all across the world that we can't explain.
Esther Island.
Yeah.
Well, there's 7 wonders of the world, but nothing's indicated in any scripture that I've seen or been privy to that would allude to any of this stuff. You know what I mean? That's what was always puzzled me. Like we have historical documentation that but a good majority of the world, 70% of the world believes is true, which would be the Holy Bible. But there's no mention of these there's mentions of cathedrals and things, but
Flying saucers and helicopters. Or,
you kind of think that they would have mentioned, like, oh,
Pyramid.
Jesus was going through the village and all of a sudden he got shocked because he put his hand in an outlet or something. But no, they were eating bread was like their main source.
Wine.
You know what I mean? Like if they had all that technology, why wasn't it mentioned in the Bible ever?
Yeah, it's because it was
were the
before-
pyramids mentioned in the Bible at all?
No.
Okay.
I think that all of the great structures were created with advanced technology. There was a civilization great enough to do all of this stuff, and then everything's destroyed. But you can't destroy everything. Like I think the Egyptians probably seen these awesome pyramids, and then they built their civilization around
So this
that.
was before Adam and Eve, you think?
Well, I think the structures and stuff were because of the basically thousand
Aliens?
years. Well, I don't know. Basically, thousands years of 800 years of living and creating and developing technology, and then it was a hard reset. And if you read the Apocrypha, I don't know if that's basically the Book of Enoch and all that stuff. It says that they had help of angels.
That's the Nephilim, right?
Well, they brought technology, wisdom, and stuff that humans didn't have.
The Sumerians.
And then and the Nephilim comes from the idea that the angels that were helping humans
Got horny,
yeah,
started banging them.
start banging the
Always
humans.
how it ends.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I watched the documentary on that here not too long ago. You're not far off.
And then the humans that had the babies of the angels, that's where the Nephilim came from. But nobody really knows what Nephilim.
There's a theory that the pyramids are already here. They came, like you said, around there, kind of built civilization around that for some reason or another.
Well, it
And
wasn't a
pretty much
desert.
just gave them a, well, no, of course not. Why would you build a pyramid out in the middle of fucking nowhere?
They did, it looks like.
But they put facelifts on them and kind of fixed them up. It'd be like us, oh, I need a house, it'd be easier finding a house fixing up than building your own house.
Especially one that's made out of perfect,
Right.
granite stone that's going to last through the ages. I don't know. It's very interesting, like what you're saying about the way that people lived much longer at that time, and the way we document still to this day. I mean, even during the time when Jesus of Nazareth was making his rounds, the majority of people couldn't read. They didn't understand where the sun came from at night and went down. They would always attribute that. They had the Greeks had the sun god, they had the rain god, they had all sorts of different gods. So the way it's interpreted by I'm going to interpret something completely different than you are and completely different than Ryan. And if we're the three writing the history, well, we're writing it in the way that we think, even though the apostles had it a little different because God specifically spoke directly to them.
Do they ever, sorry, go ahead.
No, I
Do
don't
they
have anything to
ever
say.
talk about like what like a calendar year is in the Bibles? It's 365 days like it is now.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I mean, I could definitely be
You'd have to
800
be
years old if I
translating
thought
that.
it was like every month was a year back then.
Well, imagine there's texts that we found that we just are guessing. There's symbols that we think mean this, and so we say, okay, there may not be words to describe some of the text and some of the things that we've seen in the past. And like I said, you've got a lot of academics out there that are theologians and then non-theologians that take these books and they're going to transcribe them the best of their knowledge, and they're probably all wrong, or at least to a degree.
Oh, definitely so.
And
I mean, nothing's a fact. It's all what's the word I'm looking for?
theory,
Theories.
hypothesis.
Hypothesis, yeah.
But the Earth is billions of years old. Who knows? I mean, just like I said, the seven wonders of the world. There's no mention of them in any history, aside from what we've documented in the last at least few thousand years. All right, so that's not even a blip. 1,000 years is not even a blip on the Earth's existence. You couldn't fathom how many changes this rock's been through, how many cataclysms there's been through, like the flood that they speak of in the Bible. I don't think there was just one flood. Maybe not maybe the one flood was the most devastating, but bro, the Earth's probably been, like Graham Hancock's got a pretty wild theory that seems pretty cool to me, that there was a cataclysm. Most of the Earth's population, the technology, anything that they had was wiped out. Could have been the Great Flood. And then there was a race that survived. Could have been Noah, and maybe they just didn't get as deep into it. Maybe Noah was bigger than what we think he was. Maybe it's like this, like a guy explained to me one time. Like, I'm the Father, Jesus Christ, or God. You're the Son. When you're an adolescent, I'm not going to tell you everything, and I'm not going to describe everything to you, because you're not old enough to even understand. So why would I tell you that? Same thing with the scripture. Maybe he gave you just what you needed to know, and he's not going to tell you everything because you couldn't possibly understand it anyway, right? And so that may be one thing that's going on, or it could be that there's absolutely no God at all, and this is all a simulation. This is a idea I like to romanticize. So say that we talk about it like a program, like a computer program. Well, you rewrite over programs often, right? You rewrite over a program, and then sometimes there's some data left behind. That's what I think the pyramids are. So this program that we're in now has been written over, but they didn't get the pyramids out of the old program, and it's just like one of those things where we're all scratching our head, but it gives us something to do. And so the creator of the program is just like, oops, left that data in there, but these guys are, it's keeping them busy, and they're having all kinds of theories.
I didn't know they're gonna wander out in the middle of the fucking desert.
Yeah. But that's cool. How like it's just like a part of the program, and same with a lot of the things. The seven wonders of the world are a program from a time where there were giants, or a program that had nothing but giants in it. And then he's like, the creator of this program is like, oh, this game's it's a video game. This game's
Glitches in the system.
I mean, so he writes over that program, puts it on the same disk, it's a floppy maybe because the technology hasn't got there. And so it didn't get rid of all the data, and now we have some of this stuff that's left over from an old program. But Graham Hancock's theory is that there were a race of people after this global cataclysm. Could have been a flood, could have been solar rays, could have been anything that destroyed a majority of the earth, but you had pockets of small civilization left. And then they didn't have technology, they didn't know how to read, write, didn't have tools, but then this one group that still had technology came around to different parts of the world and then reshared that knowledge with them and got the human race started again, you know. And that's where you see not the pyramids come from. This pyramids were already here, like you have that thought. The pyramids were already here. Most of everything got destroyed except for maybe the seven wonders, you know, the things that we still can't explain are still here. But then these people came and gave people fire, you know, gave them reading or arithmetic, or just taught them the basics, and then moved on to another pocket where there were still some survivors from the cataclysm. I don't know. It's all fun to think about. I mean, because we don't know. We don't know anything. Some people have beliefs. Nathan, you're Christian, right? And you have your beliefs, and I can't argue with you. I don't even want to, because you could be absolutely right, or you could be like Pascal's wager is, you know, like there's a lot of gods out there. What if the God you believe in is the wrong God? You know, and so that's the wager that you're willing to take. I'm putting all my cards in with Jesus of Nazareth, and I'm going to go to heaven when I die. Maybe Buddha is the one, and you got the wrong one. Or maybe you're absolutely right. I have no idea. We don't know. That's kind of the.
I'd say Jewish is probably the one, since Jesus was king of the Jews, right?
Brother, if you want to be Jewish, go ahead, but it has not worked out well historically for those guys.
It's awesome. Me and Ryan have talked about this before. Just being able to have a conversation where people aren't getting upset over wanting to fight. Because, man, people will fight tooth and nail
They'll
for their
kill you.
religion or faith or
They will kill you.
beliefs.
I
Man,
would
it's
say just beliefs in general.
fucking crazy. And all this war that's been over all that.
Up until like what we know, most wars were fought for religious reasons. Historically, like the Crusades, people forget about the Christian Crusades. They were murderers, dude. Like Christians went through, like you're gonna believe. Even have you guys
It's
seen?
good for you.
Have you guys seen The Revenant, or what's it called? There's a new movie on Netflix that talks about during the United States when the West was being formed, and you had the Mormons. They had an army. The Mormons had an army, and they were ruthless murderers. So like all religions kind of rooted in war. I mean, not rooted in war. I shouldn't describe it like that, but there is a lot of not only persecution of other people that don't think the way that they think. All sides. Nobody's innocent in this deal. No matter what religion you're in, you got there's some baggage
Some
that
blood on your
comes
hands.
with it. You know, like it's not perfect, and maybe that's the plan. You know, we don't know. You know, maybe I don't know. We're pretty stupid as far as it goes. I kind of wonder.
Yeah, definitely so.
Because people get into the argument of creation and evolution, and like if you look at us as human beings, and then you look at every other species around us, what's the missing link? We don't know what foods to eat. Cows know what to eat. They know what not to eat. Wolves know what to eat. They know what not to eat. There's no discrimination there. If it's meat and they can catch you, you're dead. Except they're not out hunting, you know, things that are gonna poison their body. They're not eating vegetables.
Right.
You know, they're
They're
not
not
out,
raiding crops.
but we do. You know, we humans, the human Homo sapiens we build things, we create things. No other species has gotten there. There's no other species right now developing spears and taking over other species. But we take over everything, and then we'll fight each other for beliefs that we have. What's the missing link in humanity that makes us so different than everything else on the planet?
Well, environment's got a lot to do with it. Like, honestly, if I was just thrown into the rainforest, I've never been to the
You
rainforest.
die within weeks.
Well, I'm gonna pay attention to other primates though. I'm gonna be watching
you're gonna get
the
eaten by a
chimpanzee.
jaguar,
Yeah,
dude.
Probably
You're dead.
Shut the fuck up.
Well, that's what's gonna happen.
Good chance.
I'm making it
Probably
seem like you're
right.
gonna survive and start to
But-
skin animals and make clothes. You're dead.
Build a teepee.
Yeah.
Long story short, though, you're gonna pay attention to the gorillas. Like, okay, this is what they're doing. This is what they're eating. This is how they're protecting themselves. I'm probably gonna climb a tree. They're probably gonna fuck me up because
You're in one of their trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Gorillas are giant. They're gonna see you. You're like, oh, I'm observing these gorillas, and then one sneaks up like you did on me this morning, butt fucks you and fucking then eats you, passes you around the rest of the crew for a while.
God, it's a lot of butt fucking.
Well, yeah, but if you're a gorilla, you can pretty much butt fuck anything you want, except maybe a grizzly bear.
All right, that went way south. The deep south.
Yeah. South of the border.
You all right, Nate?
Yeah.
Ryan, how do you feel about this?
I don't even know where to begin. Remembering so many topics, I'm like, wait, what? I think it's fascinating. Like the pyramids, I do want to believe that it was this ancient technology or, aliens came down and was
yeah.
hey,
That's
let's
cool.
show you how
Aliens
to,
thought.
but it's Garrett, points it out the bet you don't know. It's all speculation, but it is fascinating it's almost not scary, but daunting when you think about it, We look at what we're able to do today and we can't even begin to touch how to build a pyramid. So it's just mind blowing to sit there and think, with all the technology and computers and how computers can generate shit for days, and yet you can't get the smartest architects in the world to recreate something that looks as simple as a pyramid.
It's a triangle.
Well, it's not though.
But you know
The
what I
pyramid's
mean?
not a triangle. It encaves a bit, so it's got 6 sides to the pyramid, not 3. There's 2 sides to each side of the pyramid, so it doesn't come. It comes down at a triangle, but the sides invert slightly all the way around.
Like, it's just mind blowing.
Yeah, it's mind blowing.
And it's like you said, we're taught as kids that, slave labor did it. And, you watch the movies. When I was a kid, we'd watch the 10 Commandments and we'd watch,
Mm-hmm.
and you're
Yeah,
just.
John Wayne is Jesus. What did he play? Genghis
I'll
Khan.
build your pyramid, little
John
lady.
Wayne.
Get along, little doggy.
Well, that brings up another point. Like, how much does Hollywood influence the way people think? Because, like,
Oh,
John Wayne in
absolutely.
the '60s, like 1968, did Genghis Khan. John Wayne
Right.
was Genghis Khan. Like, they didn't even have an Asian dude. They should have had some kind of Mongolian feller in there, wouldn't you think? Since the Genghis Khan was, or Genghis Khan, I shouldn't mispronounce that. Genghis Khan was a Mongolian.
Right.
But they didn't even have no guy with a long, skinny mustache. They had John fucking Wayne.
Yeah.
And you know what I heard the other day? I don't know. You guys may have heard this. That there was never any gunfights in like the Wild West of the U.S. or when the U.S. was. They wouldn't meet at high noon and do gunfights. That was just a Hollywood shit.
Nor did they wear cowboy hats.
What do you think they wore? Just like
Rolled up. Number one, I don't know if
Like
you've
that.
ever been on a horse in a cowboy hat. It's gonna blow off your head. You
And I thought
cruising
that's
around.
why they had the string underneath
Yeah.
to keep it on.
Sombreros keep the heat off your back, maybe. But why would you just not grow a mullet?
maybe you couldn't grow hair like me.
It was called the cowboy haircut before it was known as the mullet.
You guys are really wild.
Right.
I think Hollywood done a good job with that. And how much the Pentagon has a specific budget that's for Hollywood. The Pentagon itself, the United States Pentagon has a budget that they will use to influence movies like Transformers, because you get the idea of this aliens in your head, and then they'll spring it on you. Boop, we got this technology. I mean, the governments are. That's crazy. The government. I don't want to get into too much of conspiracy. Fuck, I don't care. I'll get right into it.
Fuck it, dude. What are we doing here today?
The
Something to talk
government has a lot of influence over the population.
Bigfoot.
Yeah,
That's true.
and that's what John was saying the other day. how much of our thinking is based on a movie that we've seen, or like what type of stuff are you you're emotionally set to, like
The death scene.
yeah, the screaming, yeah, exactly, like who does that?
Yeah, nobody that I've ever
Or-
seen die.
Well, I also watch
And
true crime.
romance.
Yeah, I watch true crime shows, and they're like, this person didn't act correctly after their parents were found murdered, and I'm like, how are you supposed to act? I
Right.
better
Yeah.
watch more TV of people getting murdered, so I know how to act in a situation like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, when the cops show up, I'm like,
Yeah.
shaking in the corner. That is true. I mean, I think that you guys, that's true. I think John's
Well, look at
theory is
Aliens.
correct.
When
Yeah,
the first Alien movies came out, guess how everyone describes it's seen aliens?
Big head, big
Yes.
eyes, skinny
They're
little
all
bodies.
described the same
frail.
way
the Grays.
from when
the
aliens
tall
are
whites,
first seen on
the
TV,
grays.
you know? You haven't had someone that's like, oh, they've got tentacle eyes and, you know, it's all of them are described exactly the same. And so
Yeah.
it does make you wonder how movies influence. Or maybe aliens present themselves like, hey, their brain can't fathom what they would see, so I'm gonna project this image upon them because that's what they can understand. You see some alien with, you know, 6 mouths and they're look like some.
6 mouths. Imagine the blowjobs. you
Yeah,
get
I
from
was
that
waiting for
alien.
something. But you
These
know,
orifices.
it's always blown my mind how you can't tell me there's only one species of aliens if there's aliens. Why do they all look the same?
Yeah,
You
like,
can't tell me all the aliens are cookie cutter aliens.
we don't look like Asians.
Right. You
I'm
know what I
And
mean?
we're all human.
Yeah.
We're all from the
So
same
you
species,
can't
but we
tell
don't
me
even look
that
the
there's
same.
not different looking aliens that, you know.
Well, they're from different planets. Obviously, the atmospheres are different. They're
Yeah.
and how can there not be aliens?
Bigfoot.
How do you believe Bigfoot is an interdimensional creature? Or do you believe he's just some dude living out in the woods, or a species living out in the great, you
I've
know,
seen Trailer
wilderness?
Park Boys.
Well, that's Canada. Bigfoot's way different.
Well, that's
outdoor.
true.
That's a Sasquatch you guys are thinking of, not Bigfoot.
Not Yeti.
Not the Yeti.
Yeah, he might be an interdimensional being. I mean, if you really start thinking, well, I told you to watch that documentary Trip to Infinity. I mean, it only has to happen once for it to be true. So, I guess the little kid in me really wants to believe in Bigfoot or possibility, but maybe he's an alien too. It's really hard for me to say, like, hey, I believe in UFOs and aliens, but I absolutely do not believe in Bigfoot or mermaids.
Well, again, Harry and the Hendersons was our idea of what Bigfoot should
Great
look like.
documentary.
Very good
Not quite the
documentary on
beast
it.
we had thought.
Right. They weren't. Yeah, they smelt a little bit.
Right.
But that's another thing, you know, if there is Bigfoot and the government's hiding it from us, then they would have put out Harry and the Henderson and other movies that would have. And how many of those leaked? Remember the original Bigfoot video that everybody saw was this
Patterson.
the Patterson footage. So is that what was that leaked by the government? Did they create that so that people would? Or it was like how Michael Jackson used to seem to suck a kid's dick every time something would be going on in the war. You know, there'd be a war over in another country, and Michael Jackson molests some kid.
Swerve to the right.
Well, you know what I'm
Smoke and
saying?
mirrors.
Or it's the Kardashians. Oh, Kim Kardashian got a tip job, and Kanye and her are fighting over their kid. Like, what's going on? If we're and people get captivated by some hot Italian chick.
Call
They're
that
like,
the Kansas City Shuffle, where I come from. Kansas City, by the way.
Kansas City, in case you didn't know. But you know, I mean, I think that happens a lot, to where we get our attention spans aren't great, and we're a lot of us are watching TV or looking on the internet, and you're seeing these, you know, how many, what do they call that?
Manipulated.
Yeah, it's called manipulate, but there's something like the deep state calls, like they have they're called direct, it's the way that they manipulate the things around you to make you misdirection, right. So this is like deep state misdirection, and they're like, okay, we're getting ready to bomb Yemen. We don't want everybody to know right now, but they do. So they leaked that signal leak that went out from that one, whatever the Senate guy leaked this to a reporter. He happened to put him in the signal group. Did he? Or was that on purpose, just to get us thinking about that so much and arguing about that we forget, yeah, they actually did bomb the
Right.
fuck out of, you think that it was only one target that got killed in that bomb? No, it was kids and mothers and sisters and wives and brothers and brother-in-laws and husbands that got in that attack too. But we're worried about, oh, this stupid senator, how could you be so stupid when we're not even paying attention to the fact that, hey, families and innocent people died during that bombing. It wasn't just a group, a group of military, and even if it was, they're just fighting because they have to. They join the military, and then they're getting killed. I don't know how often.
Yeah, humans are just easily manipulated in a situation,
especially me.
Especially if you
I
see
believe
like
anything.
it's like, all right, there's a bombing going on. All of a sudden, there's a school shooting, or somebody releasing snakes in like a movie theater in Colorado, or I mean, there's always just something where distraction. It's like squirrel.
Or the release of Tiger King during COVID.
COVID,
Yeah.
Oh, that's all people wanted to talk about was that gay fucking dude that was raising tigers in Oklahoma.
He ran for president, Garrett.
Hey,
Show some respect.
I apologize. I should not have said anything.
Well, they've been doing this
We'll edit that out.
all along, like in Rome. like in Rome, when their population was starving and stuff, they would do gladiator games and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah,
And
those things are badass.
they would distract the population with games. Like I feel like football is just the same thing as the gladiator games. All of our movies and TVs are just keeping us from trying to figure out what's
It's a pacifier.
yeah and
Ooh, that's a good one. Pacifier.
and it's been going on for thousands of years. It's just how our past governments have been doing it.
I watched a documentary on the Coliseum, I believe it was, and how advanced that thing was for its time, like how they can have like bullfights, and then all of a sudden fill it full of water.
Yeah.
And then
They
they're
got
talking about their
boats.
drainage systems, but yeah, they had boats and shit out there. Sharks. Okay, we're gonna bring a shark in this week.
Oh
We're
my
gonna bring some
God.
gators in, dude. It was fucking nuts how, like, again, we're talking about technology back then compared to now.
That wasn't even nearly as long ago as the pyramids. We know there's documentation of this stuff that
Yeah.
we can see.
Yeah.
And we can't recreate like the Roman concrete. We're not making Roman concrete now. That stuff that's the at the Colosseums that's still there.
Like Coral Castle. Let's think about this for a
Coral
second.
Castle's a wild one. You guys know
Yeah.
about that? Lay
It's
it
in
on.
Florida. Well, let's go back. Like, we can come back to this, but is there a structure today that humans have built that will be here, say, in 10,000 years?
No. Not in recent history.
You
not
can't
in
think
the
of a
last-
single structure humans have built that's still going to be here at the end of days. Like,
If there was one in the United States, it wouldn't in the last 250 years since since Europeans have started populating it. It would have been before our time.
you know about Coral Castle.
No.
Oh man.
This guy's like 100. Well, he claimed he knew how the pyramids were built.
When he built structures, he has a 30-ton granite column with a hole drilled through it
Yeah.
in the yard that he did all that himself.
And a 2-year-old girl can go push on the door, move this so many thousand
I think
pound
it's
stone like door.
7 tons or something like that.
But the
Oh, good.
fucked up part about this is he 110 pounds wet by himself built this whole structure in a couple years, and he actually started it and then didn't like where it was at, and I can't remember exactly how the thing goes, but apparently a truck showed up because he wanted to move the whole structure, and the truck driver was like, hey, you need help? No, go grab a cup of coffee. When you get back, I'll have the whole truck loaded by myself, and loaded all these stones up and moved them to another situation. And Coral Castle is like a phenomenal deal. Like,
Really?
yeah,
The stonework, he's got little designs built, like say 2 columns go up a flat. He claims he knows how they built Stonehenge and has a kind of a recreation of the columns of Stonehenge, except his goes up 2 columns and then another one on top and then a granite. I mean, this is stuff's made out of solid granite, and then a roof, but it's not a roof that goes over it all. It's just a little point structure at the top that's say this big compared to the base is this wide, and it's just got like this triangle cut out, notched, perfectly symmetrical little triangle on top or half of a triangle.
But nobody ever seen. They try showing him, trying to watch him work. But when people showed up, he was like, "Ah, fuck it. I guess I'm taking a lunch break," and never did show anybody. But the only tools that he had was like a tripod with a little box up in it, and then they found some tuning forks.
So you think he was able to do where he found the signal
Harmonics and
harmonics in it and was able to mold stuff?
mold it or
Get it
get it
to
almost
soften
zero
out.
gravity, or like everything's on an electrical and harmonic. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck on my words right now, but
frequency.
yeah, frequencies you can get in tune with to make something almost
More malleable,
lighter.
lighter.
Can you
Just kind of
imagine
moving shit
if
around.
you saw someone go dong, and then all of a sudden granite just turned into like Play-Doh?
Well, I think what some people theorize is a chant. So you get a whole group of people, a whole village, and they're
And it's enough of a
and then the stones start to raise and shape and
be mind blowing.
yeah. I mean,
Wow.
but they do have
That'd be
videos,
crazy.
lots of them, where they have these boxes with the certain. It puts out a certain frequency, and you'll see these rocks that are about yay big around. And then they turn that box
Levitate.
on, and then the fucking rocks just pop up in the air, and they'll separate. There'll be like 3 stones, one on top of each other, and there's gaps in between them.
Yeah, I've
It's
seen
just
that.
the vibrations. It's a vibration. It's the right frequency, and I think you have to find. Everything has a frequency, like John was saying, but you got to find it.
Yeah.
And if you could get enough people to go in the same key of music note, or I don't know, it'd be a vibration, not actual a sound. It's more of a. I mean, there's sounds that dogs can hear that we can't, and other animals, and we can't hear them.
We've all seen the video of some girl like getting in pitch with a wine glass and it shattering.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or you can just take a wine glass and
rub across
rub
the
your
top,
finger, and all of a
get the
sudden you hear,
harmonic.
you know that noise.
You get enough Bigfoots howling.
Yeah, that could be how the pyramids got built. You just had a bunch of Bigfoots. Oh. All of a sudden, the rock starts to come out of the ground. So
It's just like a big Rubik's Cube.
Right.
man, that's a good idea. If I could,
Minecraft.
I want to go find a herd of Bigfoot and bring them to my house and have them build me a new house out of stone. No wonder they're so elusive. They've just been put to work for so many years. They're just like, fuck, we gotta hide. People are gonna have us build some more pyramids. Like, I'm still hoarse from back when I was building the pyramids. My throat's still sore from that.
It's been a long day at work, boy, are my larynx all fucked up.
Does anyone have a lozenge? Oh my.
You gargle some salt water.
So we go to the ocean. I didn't realize this is how it was gonna go this morning, boys.
You should have known Bigfoot was going to come up in this.
Well, he's a national treasure.
He's one of the 8 wonders.
Why do we always call Bigfoot a guy? Like, do you think that they're, what do you call that, where you're not a, there's some fish that can get themselves pregnant, you know, like they
asexual or whatever.
Hey,
Seahorses.
yeah, maybe Bigfoot's like a
Kangaroos.
version of it. It was a single-celled organism, changed from a seahorse, and then evolved into Bigfoot. And so that's why it's all guy Bigfoots, but they just fuck themselves, get themselves pregnant.
Dude, anything can happen. Nature has a way. I watched a documentary called Jurassic Park here not too long ago.
I like that documentary.
Dude, speaking of Jurassic Park, you guys know about the way ducks' anatomy is, right?
Oh yeah. Grew up
know
around
you,
ducks.
I know you do. I don't know if you guys are do you know, Ryan, about a duck dick and a duck vagina?
Nope.
Oh, fuck, here we go.
I'll back you up on this one.
So-
I know this one better.
So imagine a duck's dick is a spiral, like a wine bottle.
They
But-
shoot out about this long and they corkscrew
Yeah.
fucking weird. Some of them got barbs on
They
them.
got barbs.
Good God.
And then the duck vagina is a corkscrew that goes in the opposite direction.
And they got like 7 to 8 different vaginas on. They have fake passageways on a duck.
So that
Females.
so that the male duck can ejaculate into those vaginas, and then it won't get the duck pregnant. Like they evolve all the time to make it harder and harder for them to reproduce. But there's ducks everywhere. But they are I don't know if there's any other creature that it's almost like it's a fucking challenge. Like for one, imagine trying to take a screw or a bolt into a bolt hole that's opposite threads the other way and fighting and trying to cram that in there. That's what a duck has to do every time it fucks. And then sometimes it hits the wrong hole. And so it's got to go back and do it again and do it again and do it again.
Did not know this.
Yeah, true facts about the duck. Get bored to look that up. It's kind of
You just type in duck dick to Google.
Yeah,
no,
right.
no, true facts. Like that guy really puts everything down simple as it can be. But yeah, we had ducks that would rape the cats. Like we had a male cat that the duck would come over, grab it by the ear, yank back on it, and just go to pound town on that damn tomcat.
I bet that
I have it on
tomcat
video.
hated that shit. Or not.
Well,
that might be a crime.
Yeah, definitely it is.
Yeah, you may not want to.
Interspecies erotica, for sure. You just can't go around doing that.
Apparently you can. Who's going to tell that duck no? You? You
The
want
cat
to
obviously
Oh,
couldn't.
and this is another true fact about ducks. After every mating season, their dick will actually fall off, grow back bigger, larger, and be more violent. Like somehow that's where the
Be
barbs
more
come in.
violent.
Yeah, that's where the barbs and stuff come in at.
Yeah. Did you know that?
Gangster dicks.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you know that
Crazy.
pigeons die after they have sex?
Really?
The one that I fucked did.
Oh my god.
Jesus. Well, I don't know if you know this, but pigeons are born grown up. Have you ever seen a baby pigeon?
I've seen pigeon eggs.
But you've never seen a baby pigeon.
No.
You've seen baby blue jays, robins, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was telling the neighbor lady, because we got new windows in the back, and the pigeon's been all sorts of confused. Like, we keep coming back. How the fuck are we going to get in here? And she's out there. She's like, oh, these damn pigeons. And I'm like, yeah. And she's an older lady. I was like, you ever seen a baby pigeon? She's like, no. I was like, well, they're born adults. And she kind of has this weird look on her face, and I'm just staring. I don't break stare with her. This goes on for about, well, you know how my staring contests
Right.
go. About 30 seconds. She's like, am I missing something here? And then she like takes a drag of her cigarette. She's like, pigeon eggs ain't that big. That's all she said. But yeah, it's always been a thing. Pigeons are just born grown up because nobody's seen a baby pigeon.
They're very elusive. Have you guys ever seen a baby buzzard?
Yeah.
They're pure white. They're like real fluffy
Mm-hmm.
and pure white. Yeah.
I
and
remember at
they
the
just
zoo
get
down
big.
here when the little guy was
Really?
born, the buzzard over here.
I'm talking about your average Kansas vulture, not the big giant ones. But either way, they probably are too. But when I lived in the country as a kid, and they have their babies on the ground, so they don't make nests in the trees. And there was some sandstone, some really tall sandstone rocks, about 4 or 5 foot tall, and basically in a circle pattern. You could get in through a couple. The rocks were spread out a little bit enough to get in there, but they'd take sticks and they'd kind of block the entrances off, and they just make a little spot in the ground, and then always be the mom and the dad buzzard. I don't know anything about buzzards. This is just my experience as a kid. I didn't look into it, but there'd always be 2 buzzards there, and you'd go up there to check to see if the eggs had hatched yet, and they'd both fly off, and then eventually there'd be 2 or 3 buzzards every year, and they would be pure white, like black beaks, pure white, black feet, and then as they get older, they're whatever kind of feathers they have on their babies, those fall off and they're all over the ground, and then they get their black ones in, and then eventually they're full size.
Well, just like a bald eagle, they're not born with white heads. Like I've seen bald eagles my whole life. They're dark, and then as they get older, their mature feathers come in on their head to be white.
Kind of like me. Like I'm kind of a bald human. I am a bald human.
I miss your
But it
cowboy
didn't-
hat, bud.
Didn't start out that way. Is there a glare?
No, you're good.
Cowboy.
I had to wear a hat today because I got a haircut this morning around 5:30.
I'm the only one that didn't wear a hat. I should have wore the cowboy hat. How did cowboy hats come around then?
Hollywood.
What do you think they wore?
Oh, well, Marty McFly. My favorite Western is Back to the Future 3. And there's more of like a derby style hat, like the one I wear sometimes. Like
Oh
a
yeah,
bowler
like
hat.
a fedora kind
Yeah.
of with the rolled up.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
that was more of probably the traditional cowboy hat back in the day.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, why do the cowboys today wear those cowboy hats? Imagine getting in. I know, because you get into your vehicle with that fucking cowboy hat on, and it's hitting every fucking thing around you.
Imagine crawling into your horse.
Yeah. with that hat on. God dang.
Oh.
So Hollywood's lied to us all these years.
Well, no.
It's not a lie if they create the narrative.
It's like capitalism. You
Oh,
create
God.
a problem that you already have the solution to, and then market that solution to the problem. And that's why we're in the state that we're in today.
So you guys ever get yourself into a situation and like I find it with me like anytime I go anywhere and I always go back to a movie or something like how am I gonna react in this situation? And it seems like I always go back to a clip of a movie. It's like this shit here is gonna be funny as fuck. It's not my line, but I got it from somewhere and then I throw it over there to kind of lighten the mood. You guys like that or like
No, I think for myself, John. I don't need somebody to think for me. Some Hollywood director.
not influenced by Hollywood at all?
Yeah.
It's like drinking's cool or smoking cigarettes. Like I smoke cigarettes because John Wayne smoked cigarettes.
No, you got a lot of one-liners that you use though that you come up with on your own that aren't from movies.
Oh yeah,
Like you're like the king of one-liners around here.
yeah.
I chewed on black licorice because I watched Outlaw Josie Wales.
Oh, great
And
movie.
he chewed and spit between that dog's eyes.
Yeah.
And so I'd go get black licorice and stick it in my cheek and chew on it so I could spit.
Spit
and it looked
black.
like I was chewing.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Did you ever spit in a dog's eye?
No, I was terrified of the dogs.
They might bite me.
Yeah, it might attack. But I did. I mean, it does. It does. Even as a young age. Like I thought clear back then, I was like, chewing is the coolest thing ever. I can't wait till I can chew.
And now you're still
You
chewing.
know, I'm still chewing.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
I wish I was dedicated enough.
No wonder. I used to watch a lot of porno whenever I still do. And so that explains a lot.
Explains a lot.
Hollywood got me too, guys.
So I don't know if you guys ever heard this, but they talk about, and maybe you know this. You guys both work at the hospital, but they were talking about like kids being influenced by TV. And I guess one of the ways, and I don't know if it's still like this, but children being hurt were like jumping out of a window with an umbrella. So there was constantly.
Oh,
broken
Mary
arms.
Poppins?
Yep, exactly. They said that caused a lot of problems.
I tried it,
Yeah, me too.
and it didn't work.
No.
I
I mean,
remember with the
immediately it
garbage
went,
bag.
but I wasn't a very tall
Thinking I
roof.
could
Right.
jump off, you know, play Superman, or you would.
Parachute
Like,
down.
oh yeah, if I hold on to this trash bag, it'll fill up with air
Uh-huh.
in this 10-foot drop off the roof.
It may have slowed you
And I-
down a millionth,
And
but
I won't hurt myself.
yeah.
So you weren't a big
see it on
physicist back
TV.
when you were a
No,
kid.
still not. Still not. But you know what I mean? You see parachutes and you see cartoons.
Oh yeah,
or
G.I.
you
Joe
see-
was king of parachutes.
And it was, you just, and it'll fill up. And yeah, I don't know how many things I tried just because I saw it on
Well, I
TV.
tried the umbrella thing, and it did not fucking work. It actually went upward.
So I was
Immediately.
getting ready to say, did your umbrella go?
Yeah. So I got to thinking, it's like I need a bigger umbrella. And then you like go rob the, like
Get one of those table
big
umbrellas.
table umbrellas, local country club. Like, oh, I'm gonna take one of those, and that actually did slow me down. I mean, you feel it fill full of air, and it did help, but you still hit the ground pretty hard.
Right.
Yeah.
If you need to do it on a hot summer day because warm air, that's what they put in hot air balloons and they float. So if it was really hot outside, you tried it with a regular size umbrella, it might work.
Yeah, did the hot air balloon come out in like the late 1800s?
I don't know, man.
And then the cold air balloon came out in like 1816,
And it didn't last as long as the hot
but it never took off.
What about the hot? What about the hot air balloon? What do they call that? The Hindenburg? It was extra.
They said, well, on that note.
That's a horrible
No.
joke.
Your house is much taller than when you were a kid. I think if you jumped off, you have much more time to make your experiment work if you tried it today.
Well, that's how I used to think when I was little. It's like, wait, I live next to a water tower.
Oh, wow.
All right, guys. I got my umbrella.
Kids
The
The
don't
problem
realize
is the
how-
umbrella didn't catch enough time to catch that much air. I need to be higher up.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No.
Yeah, imagine that. You know these.
I live next to a water tower.
Fairview, Kansas.
Well, if you live in Fairview, you live next to the water tower.
Right. Well,
I mean,
Yeah.
everybody,
Yeah.
everybody does.
Well, it's like 4 block by 3 block.
Yeah, and the water tower is dead center.
Population 200 people.
Population, your family.
Well, it's skid mark in America's underpants for sure. But
That's Sioux City, Iowa.
oh yeah, that was right.
Have you ever been there?
Oh man,
Well, you're not missing anything.
That's what I keep being told.
that place is
It's
crazy.
the weirdest.
I marked it off my bucket list. I
It's
was
the
like,
weirdest
never mind.
setup. You have the Tyson Event Center. And you got some tall ass buildings, and then you're in a fucking horse ranch.
Cornfield.
Like literally, like you're 2 minutes of driving, you're in the city, and all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck? Is that people riding horses out there across these plains? Sure enough. We were at
Deer.
Denny's. We were at Denny's one morning, and there was a fucking herd of deer walking around across the street in downtown.
And the place is the size of Chicago, like square mileage wise.
Really?
3 different states.
Yeah.
All
Sioux
in
City, Nebraska, Iowa, and South Dakota. And yeah, man, it was weird. And you're like thinking you're driving. It's like driving from here to Opie, but you're still in Sioux City. And then you hit like the middle of cornfield. Like, oh, corn's gonna be playing here tomorrow. I never seen a groundhog till I was in Sioux City. But then they have all these big bridges and overpasses and. Like, I really remember a deer jumping off the overpass and landing on top of a building, killing
God.
itself. It was fucking weird.
Killing itself.
Yeah.
A lot of deer. I would kill myself, I think, if I lived there for too long, too.
I don't blame you.
Imagine that deer was raised there, and he's probably like, it's not going to get any better than this.
I mean, I made it 6 months
Yeah.
to the date.
6 months, and you're like, you know what? If I'm going to be just like that deer if I don't get out of here soon.
John just drove over the bridge every day. It's today the day.
Today I'm going to drive off onto the top of this building.
Put my umbrella on top of the car.
Just duct tape the umbrella up to the roof.
Come on, dude. I'm better than that.
Yeah, you would have hooked it into the window.
All right.
Did you have an umbrella with a hook on the end of it?
Yeah.
I remember my mom got me a polo umbrella. It was for Christmas one year. It was green with the white polo down the side, the
Fox
wrap.
asking for an umbrella for Christmas.
I didn't ask for it. My assumption is that she bought me some cologne and that was like a special that came with it. Like you buy a certain size bottle of cologne and then you get an umbrella, and then she just split them up to make it look like I got 2 presents.
Yeah.
But it didn't have the hook is the point I'm trying to make, you asshole. It just had a regular wooden handle on it.
God, I remember Polo was the cologne back in the day.
Oh yeah, all your friends loved the smell
Yeah.
of it. No girls did.
And you remember what came right after that? It was like CK1.
Yeah, the unisex.
Yes.
CK1, women or men
CK1.
could do it. The girl's like, oh, you smell so good. She's like, my sister. Is
I
that
think
what
that's how the commercial was. It's always like a whisper. So
Yeah.
stupid.
Oh my
I
God.
use Yope still to this day. So once I found out about that, it's Joop. I don't know if it's called Yope, but it sounds it's pronounced Yope. Jupe, the Joop. It's pink, the color, and I've always used it since high school. I mean, I used Ralph Lauren's polo first because that's what mom bought, and then this guy at school had the Yope, Jupe, whatever you want to call it. I was like, damn, that smells good. And then I still, if I wear cologne, that's the kind I wear.
I can't wear cologne or many clones because
Get
they
you
give me
turned
headache.
on.
Yeah.
All gay porn hard over there.
God damn.
Oh my God.
I can't beat the classics like Old Spice sometimes.
Yeah,
Oh, it
that
reminds
always
me of
reminds
back
me
when I
of
used to
my
jerk
dad.
off that old man.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He'd splash a little on his face and he'd say, all right, boy, it's time.
Yeah, reminds me of my dad, Old Spice.
Brute.
Yeah, Brute was not.
I'm no longer a stranger in the ways of a woman.
It's like the beginning of a soap opera.
It was Wayne's World when Garth got nailed by, what's the chick? Heather Locklear.
Never seen the movie.
You've never seen Wayne's World?
Nope.
Wayne's World, party time, excellent.
Excellent.
Woo. No shit. That's a classic. An
I'm
oldie but
fucking
a
with
goodie.
you, right?
I would
Yeah.
assume that you've seen Wayne's World.
It's like I've seen it, so obviously you've seen it.
You may have been in the movie Wayne's World.
God.
If there was a character for you to play a role in that Hollywood would be just driving down the street and see you, they'd be like, "Oh, we're getting him for Wayne's World." It's like
The remake?
the groupie, one of the groupies.
Yeah, right.
I think that you could act. I think you could be in a movie pretty easily.
Well, I act every day.
Yeah, you act like you're cool, but
I'm not. Yeah, I'm pretty cool.
I don't want to brag. But I don't want to toot my own horn, but toot toot. What time's it getting to be over there, Ryan?
It's 8:05.
I gotta be out of here by 9 o'clock this morning. I've got
What
a
you got going on?
I'm going to train some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Topeka.
Fucking gay.
I've got a tournament coming up on the 19th in Springfield, Missouri. So
Oh yeah? What day
the 19th
of this month?
of this month.
Springfield?
Yeah, and I didn't when I signed up for it. I guess I don't know what I was thinking because I've been to Springfield before, but I was like, oh, Springfield's just right up by Kansas City. That's not going to be bad. And then
You're an idiot.
4 hours later.
yeah, and then Logan's doing it too, and he's like, yeah, I got a motel room. I was like, why the fuck would you get a motel room? He's like, because it's like a 4-hour drive. And I was like, oh, come on. And then Google it, I'm like, motherfucker.
You know, I know a lot of the beard community. The Bill Peterson lives over there.
Yeah.
No, really, I spent a lot of time in Springfield, and Ryan Schrock also lives over there.
Does he? Is that where he lives? I thought he was
Or
in
last I-
Panama or some bullshit like
Well,
that.
he
doing
might be.
missionary
I
work.
don't fucking know, but I mean, I know he was living over there.
Is he really living though?
He's been working out, Garrett.
Yeah, I saw that he's been doing some iron pumping.
Work out.
Still looks exactly the same.
6'7"
6'7"
and 100 pounds.
Still around there.
Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, but
But you just
take
had a
some
birthday
steroids
the
or
other day.
something.
Yeah,
How old is he? Oh, 40.
he's probably close to there, 40, 41.
Young whippersnapper. I remember my 40th birthday.
Do you remember the first time? Well, I don't know. It was the first time you met Ryan. I mean, he used to hang out at the old shop, and then got. Who was it that got? Did he get punched? No, he punched that dude in the face, and he spit blood all over Ryan Schrock as he walked in.
That's what he gets.
God.
And then the guy wanted to fight you again, and you're about ready to slam his head into the floor. I had to throw my foot underneath him so his brains exploded.
That guy, he was an MMA fighter.
Oh yeah, from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
That's-
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and he wanted, I kicked his ass, and then he wanted to fight again.
And you didn't even know anything about fighting back
I
then.
mean,
No.
you gotta give it to him.
Oh, he Bob Barker this shit from like
Yeah,
Adam Sandler pulled his shirt over his head and just started beating the fuck out of the dude.
Bob Barker.
Oh,
And then he goes to give him a beer. We're like, everybody's cool. And he's like, motherfucker, and started running his mouth again. And he's like, listen, I just gave you one of my beers. Quit talking shit. I'm gonna fuck you up again. Yurt goes up, grabs his shirt, pulls it up over him, fucking starts beating the fuck out of him. The guy's like blind.
Where am I?
And I'm like, holy shit, again?
the good old
Yeah,
days.
I don't
thought
know,
we were
man.
done with this.
Well, Yurt's got one of those punchable faces. Like,
I must.
it takes everything I got not to punch him every time I see him. But this guy, man, just wasn't getting a fucking clue. He was fucking crazy.
And I was I was giving him a beer the
Being
first time.
nice.
And then I'd already given him a beer. And then I think it went, I can't remember. I was pretty wasted. But I think he said, give me a beer, bitch. Another, and I'm like, first I gave you a beer already, and now you could just ask.
Right.
Or
And
just
then
take
he-
one. Nobody would have said anything.
Yeah, and then he started, and then,
Running his mouth.
yeah, or something. I don't remember. And then, yeah, I did the old shirt over the head trick. Right, idiot.
But you fucking had it. Like, you're about ready to throw his head into a concrete floor. I'm going to throw my foot under the back. Well, I was wearing Heelys back then.
I thought you were gonna say high heels.
Well,
No,
I
Heelys.
think because like after I already told you once.
And he's bragging about being a professional fighter from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I'm a professional bar fighter from Kansas.
Right? I'm an alcoholic from Kansas.
Guess what? I'm about to throw some haymakers on your ass. And did.
And
I
you're not
think
gonna
I
see
got-
him coming.
I got in more fights at that tattoo shop than I got into, like, out of all the fights I've been in bars and in the, just being drunk, it was that fucking tattoo shop over on Sunny Slope that It seemed like every weekend. Not every weekend, but
Well, I mean, I had a bunch of concerts and had a
Yeah.
music venue and shit. God, that was a crazy place.
it would get wild.
God, I'm surprised the cops weren't there more. I mean, they were there quite a bit, but
Well, they'd come by and they'd be like, "Hey guys, like it's 11 now. It's time to tone it down." We're like,
no.
"Everybody be quiet," and then they leave, and it's party on, Wayne, party on, Garth.
I remember they come up and it's like, well, if you're gonna be doing this, you need like one of the officers said something about a noise permit. And I was like, oh, I just need to get one of those and I can party all the time. You get Google, I call the city up, April's on it. I'm like, yeah, we need one of these noise permits because they go to the park over here and they have parties till, what was the Hispanic park over here?
Las
Las
Casitas.
Casitas.
Yeah. And those guys would get down a while back in the day till 2-3 o'clock in the morning. You'd hear music clear across town. And I was like, I need one of these noise permits. The city's like,
What are you talking about?
fucking clueless.
The city's like,
Talking
we
about-
don't need no noise pollution.
So then April, of course, the graphic designer, I was like, well, I guess at the cop show, just print something off. Like, I'll just show them a paper, like, hey, I got a noise permit.
Nailed it.
Do you remember that one night that dude came flipping by the shop like he was doing backflips?
Yeah, he was on Line County Mugshots a couple days ago.
Oh, he was? I don't remember who it was, but this kid.
I'm not going to mention any names, but yeah, I remember him.
He was young at the time. Like, we were assuming he was on some kind of a drug.
Oh, he definitely was.
Dude, like, he just was like, we're in the shop and he's fucking doing flips.
Backflips.
Backflips.
On the concrete.
Just go
Only
over.
landing about half of them. Sometimes
Oh,
he's
no.
laying on his head, collarbone.
Oh god.
Then he'd get back up, do another backflip. He might land 1 out of 10.
Oh my
Dude,
god.
then he was like behind the shop, like running on the wall of that building and flipping. Like he did, I mean, he was completely out of it, like doing cartwheels after cartwheel after back handsprings. I mean, and he wasn't stopping to talk to anybody. He was out of his mind.
Yeah, I actually stayed the night at the shop that night thinking I was going to get robbed. I remember, like, man, I'm just going to hold the fort down tonight just in case somebody comes walking in. That was a sketchy part of town.
Yeah, sketchy part of Emporia. It was,
The Bronx.
yeah, I would
Ghetto?
say if you were going to compare it to anywhere, it'd be the Bronx, right by the overpass, the cattle pens.
Yeah.
You know, very dangerous part of town if you were like stuck in that cattle pen for some reason and had corn all over you. You were definitely going to get eaten by a cow. What's the bad part? You've lived in Emporia your whole life, Ryan.
Yeah.
What's the baddest part of Emporia? Like, what was the bad part when you were growing up? Because there's no bad part. Like, I remember when I moved here, it was that trailer park. They had the Mexican bar on the very east side of town where Nick of Time Liquor is now, and that trailer park would have been catty corner. That would have been the ghetto when I moved here back in like '99.
Well, the hotel across the street wasn't much better.
The hotel's not there, huh?
Is
Oh, it's that part of that old movie theater was right there. There was a movie theater across from Casey's over on the east side.
Oh, fuck, I didn't know about that.
Nick of Time, and then Casey's or the Armory right there, and then that movie theater was where those apartments are, the shitty apartment buildings.
There's another movie theater over there at one time?
That we're right across from Casey's right now was a movie theater. I'm
That's
pretty-
Vet Tech.
No, not on the other side of the street from Casey's and
I
Vet Tech.
remember that used to be a washing, what's it called?
Laundromat?
Laundromat.
Oh shit. Maybe I'm thinking of another place.
Cause we had
707?
bushwhackers and what Nick of Time is, it was bushwhackers when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Called Bushwhackers.
Bushwhackers, yeah.
Gary Lee Hufford was a bouncer there. Told me
John
back in
Red
the
that
day.
worked for Burnapps used to own it.
No shit.
Yep.
I
it was
did
called
not know that.
Bushwhackers.
Huh.
It was kind of a bikers / just a rough crowd hung out there.
And that would have been so always the east side of
It
town.
was east side. And when I was a kid, if you lived south of the tracks, it was anything south of the tracks was
Right.
considered you're poor, it's ghetto, it's.
Yeah, luckily
And I don't
live
know why. I
just
think it's
north
because
of
they
the
watched.
tracks.
We
movies.
both do. Just north.
a block.
I'm about 2.
So
Yeah, I guess I'm just on the other side of 6, so
We're about the same spot.
I don't want to brag, but I kind of moved on up.
moved on up.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are high fucking falutin. You guys are close to 12th.
Yeah. We're between 12th and
Surprised you're
15th.
even in here talking to
Show
us.
some damn respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I stand
You
corrected.
address me as sir.
Sir. I am from the north
Yeah.
side of town.
Luckily, you guys know me, so you know that I brought trash to the neighborhood.
Pull a trailer in there.
Well, you guys have a camper in the
appraisal
backyard.
value went down when we moved to the neighborhood.
They're like, oh shit.
Property
so
taxes are gonna be
Like
cheaper
God,
now
they're
that
letting
Ryan's
anyone,
here.
they're letting anyone buy houses these days.
Wouldn't that be something if it was just you? Like, not your house is shitty, but you bring the whole property taxes down. You know, you move in the neighborhood and shit starts getting suckier.
You guys got a neck tattoo and a
People's
beard.
cars start getting broken into. Not by you, just the other element that's like you, the thugs in town.
All right, guys. So let's talk about, since we talked about like the slums of Emporia, what would you say is like higher class, like the good part of town,
The north side, West Street on the north end.
like by Walmart?
Coronado Hills.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I was a kid, Coronado Hills was that was where the Richie Riches lived.
Yeah.
But
When
now
I
it's
was a
past
kid.
Holiday on 31st.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all that
And even then,
Lake Shore, whatever.
Yeah. those are
Somebody's got a badass car out there.
I wondered what that was.
my Honda. Somebody
Shut
fired my
the
Honda.
Fuck up, you don't have a badass car.
It's a 2002 Honda with 365,000 miles on it. I'd
Spell-
say that's pretty badass.
She's gonna agree with you.
I don't want to brag, but
Yeah.
But yeah,
she learned how to drive a Honda from me.
Doctor's Row.
Yeah.
That's pretty much.
And those houses, oh, now I guess it was at Hidden Lakes,
Yeah.
right on 31st.
Right on 31st.
Across from Holiday, there's 2 lakes.
And then now off Graphic Arts, that field over there, now they're starting to build even bigger houses, and now that's turning into the new hoity-toity. So it's almost like, you know, the outskirts of town is where the rich always tend to, you know, because when I was a kid, Coronado was that was the end of the road. Like where Walmart was a field.
Well, remember
There
Hobby
was
Lobby?
shit out
Yeah, that's
Hobby Lobby
practically
was-
country, but there was a pond
And
and
so
stuff there.
Coronado
Yeah.
was kind of like, you went past Coronado, it was field and there was nothing. Like,
Yeah, the
you were
water
close to
treatment
the river.
plants, because you had the water treatment plant and the lagoons for it were right there.
Yeah, and they were on the outskirts of town.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that red house, right where Hobby Lobby is now, sitting right below the water treatment plant, was a pond, and they had a
Yep.
cattle field that went all the way down to that big house with the brick fence.
Yep.
Do you remember
In
all the
front of it.
geese?
Not all of them. I mean, I remember a couple of them, but
So-
I can't remember every goose.
You know, I remember.
But do you
on
know
my
what I'm
way
talking
down
about? There was all those geese that would come to that pond where
Yeah.
Hobby Lobby's at, and then all of a sudden Hobby Lobby's there, and all the geese kept coming back, but there was no fucking pond there. They did that for a couple years. I ain't seen a geese. I haven't seen a geese. I ain't
A
seen a
goose?
goose over there in a couple years. I mean, I don't drive by over there because I don't have the money.
Well, and
to be in the
again,
rich part of town,
Simmons, all of
obviously.
those
You're
places
at
out there,
Walmart.
I mean, you were out in the
Walmart.
boonies.
Yeah.
There was nothing out there. You were in country.
Well, when I moved here in 2000, Walmart had just been there for a few years.
Like Walmart used to be where
Sutherland's is at.
Yeah,
like-
there was a Kmart where, because you had Dillon's,
Yep.
Couple
Food-
Dillons.
food
Food
for
for
less,
less.
Yeah.
all in there, and now we got what?
Kmart was where True Value is now.
Yeah.
That was Kmart?
Yep.
And then
There's
that
Big
where,
Lots before that.
It was Kmart, then it was Big Lots. and then it
Okay.
was- Yep.
Didn't
Used to be
Lorena
Kmart.
Bobbitt stop by at that Kmart? I don't think she threw John
ding
Wayne's
dong
dick out, but she stopped there to like collect herself when she was kind of.
Did she really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's in the documentary. Like she came down the turnpike and stopped at Emporia and went to the Kmart and was like
I just gotta go
collecting
dude's
her
dick
thoughts.
off.
Like I cut my husband's dick off just now, and like I drove to
Wow.
Emporia, and then she moved on. She threw it out somewhere, but they found it
Yeah.
and glued it back on him or something.
Watch
And then
out
he
for
did
Lorena.
porn- Then he did porn for a while to
She'll
prove to everybody
bob
that
it.
it's still
Yeah,
working.
sure, Bob. You know, I think, man, that's weird that technology's came a long way, and girls get butt lifts, they get tit jobs, they get all this other stuff, but they still haven't figured out like a dick enlargement, or have they?
Well, they have.
Of course you would know.
I
I'm
had-
sure you've researched it.
Well, I got the reverse. I got dick.
You got the reverse.
Yeah, because mine was just too big. I was like, so I'm thinking shorter. They could definitely make it bigger.
Oh, you had to get it a little bit trimmed off, huh?
My back's feels so much better.
I bet that
Really
was a
hurting the
hassle to
hips.
carry
Yeah.
out.
Poor April.
Imagine you tell your wife, like, oh, I've got a work trip, and you go on this work trip, and you come back with a fucking hog. And you're like, come on, baby, all right. And she like, what? I couldn't handle the 3 inches you had before. What am I going to do with that 5-incher? You know?
It's gonna hurt.
I'm talking a hog leg, 5 inches of twisted steel and sex appeal. Have they got, I know that they got this, at least when I was back on the bodybuilding forums, they had this injection that you could get in your dick, and it was like I guess I never got it, but from the people that talked about it, like you inject this something oil liquid into your dick, and it rocks you up for. Like this was kind of Viagra was out, but this stuff, like I think it just kept you that way, or at least semi, so that you could go ahead and get all the way, but you're kind of walking around with a half a chub like all the time. But it was like a dick epidural or something.
Fuck.
That you'd have to inject it into your dick, and I just thought, man, how desperate must you be to stick a needle in your wiener and then fill it with shit? And what if you get it in the pee part and it just runs out, and so you.
You just wasted all that money.
All that money you just spent, and then you're like, oh, fuck, I'm wrong spot. You just piss it out, and then you still don't have a hard on, just a swollen spot in your dick. Like a mosquito with a giant fucking
Looks like you
needle.
got poison ivy on half of it. Oh, man.
I'm surprised they haven't come out with like at least a dick implant or like a motor out, like a imagine you just get a vibrator, put it in there, and it's like, wong.
It's like one of those massage things, you just hand it to your wife, it's got different settings.
And she's like, "Whoa." She's over there vibrating, you're at work and you forget she's got the remote, and all of a sudden your pants start vibrating.
So you really don't watch much porn. You lied about that earlier.
Why? Is there guys with dick implants in porn?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, all the stuff you're talking about is definitely a thing.
How do you know?
You look like a kid that got caught with
I mean, dude, like you would have to like, oh, you'd be having to watch in the porno and then studying the dicks. Be like, yes, I believe that's an incision line right there. It looks like he's had an extension added.
You were the guy a few years ago trying to ask me if I'd give you a vasectomy scar tattoo.
Ow, god damn.
Look, I don't remember. I was trying to think if I really did ask him.
We joked around about it.
I actually got a vasectomy now.
I
so
know.
I got the real deal.
You got the real scar.
I don't even think there's a scar.
Oh.
They just do it down by your nuts. They just poke a hole in there. Pull
How
that.
was your experience with that? Was it alright or?
I don't, like some people, like almost everybody that I talked to said, oh, I've moved around too fast and it hurt so bad, and so I just did not. 2 days I was on the couch and I didn't move. If it felt fine, I'd get up and go to the bathroom and but I didn't lift anything. I didn't move around. I mean, I laid on the couch because I'd heard so much testimony from so many people how it was horrible. So when it happened, they numbed everything, and I think they didn't give me pain pills. They gave me they didn't give me a Valium. She said they were going to, and then I was like, hey, when I got there, remember that Valium you asked about? And she's like, no, you probably don't need it. And I was like, but or I do. And she's like, no, and she just lifted my balls up and sprayed this orange shit on there. It's like, I'll be back in a minute when this dries.
Like she dropped a handful of potatoes. It was nothing like this. We're like,
Well, I'm telling the fucking story, John. Just sit over there and listen.
God.
Anyway, so she sprays my nuts down, paints it on with this big paintbrush, drops them, and the doctor comes in. He's like, okay, everything looks good here. He's like, whoa, that's a monster. And then he comes over and,
So he's a joker.
yeah, he practically, he just moves it out of the way. Just like, eh. And they do a little incision on one side, pull the thing out, cut it. He clamps it off, cuts it, burns it right there, cuts them in half, and then burns them. And that stunk a little bit. But yeah, I went home and I was like 2 days literally on the couch, and he's like, get a bag of peas, of frozen peas, and put on there. And so that's what I did. I'd put a bag of frozen vegetables on there, and it never really was bad. Like as far as it goes, of course you don't remember pain,
Right.
obviously, but I don't remember it being. I
Just
remember it being
horrible.
uncomfortable, obviously, like getting up and around. And then I was off work for like, I think I did this like on a Tuesday and took the rest of the week off. And I literally just kind of laid around. I didn't do anything to lift or do anything wild. I was back to work, but I was just walking around cautiously and shit for a couple weeks. And then I started doing jujitsu again like
How long ago has this been since you had that surgery?
2 years or
Oh,
something
Jesus.
now.
Are you thinking about getting it done? Yeah.
It wasn't bad at all, like, but I would suggest, because like for everybody else's testimony that I've ever heard said, oh, it hurt so bad. It did not. It was uncomfortable, and there was pain.
Like what kind of comfort?
Right.
Are we talking about like getting kicked in the nuts where you can't
Yeah.
eat, like
No,
nauseous?
no,
or
I would say like
sore. Like
you got kicked in the nuts, and then it's like, you know, that pain that's up here. It's not in your balls, like the pain, or at least for me, it wasn't really like my balls hurt. It was like I kind of had a hernia or something. Like it was a little bit of it was like a bulge feeling in my body. So it was like a discomfort in like, it had like, there was something there that shouldn't have been there. Like it was swelled up too. Your nuts are kind of big for a little bit.
Yep.
Or around the area, not your dick, just the nuts, unfortunately.
all potatoes, no meat, eh?
Yeah, for a while. And yeah, so that was my experience. I think I would just recommend like take some time off of work and then don't do anything, even if it feels good. Because like my coach is like, yeah, we went somewhere, because he got it done like a year or so after I did, and he's like, oh, you know, like it was bad for him. Sorry, coach, if you're listening. Pussy. But he said he went. They were like at some affair or Worlds of Fun. It seems like, or maybe I'm thinking confusing him with somebody else. But they walked around all day and was like, big fucking mistake. So I think, because I remember that first couple of days there wasn't any real pain, and so you think you're good to go, but don't fall for it. Don't listen to your body on that. It's lying to you.
So would you say just take a week easy and then you'd be fine?
Yeah. The only thing I noticed when I took 2 weeks off from doing jiu-jitsu to let the incision make sure it was healed and everything. Well, okay, so he cut it, put staples on its sides, like these little aluminum staples, I assume, pinches it down and then burns on each side of that. And so when I first started rolling again, and even in just not rolling, just moving around regular, like you would feel the staples.
Gotcha.
But once the swelling and everything had went completely down, I don't notice. I say staples, that's not what it is. It's like a piece of flat metal that they smash onto the ends and then burn those. But yeah, I would feel that just like in moving. If I'd like go to adjust my nuts or something in my pants, I would be like, oh, I could feel that on the inside. And then
Wait, they clamp these down on the inside?
they pull it out, put 2 clamps on, cut in the middle, burn each side, and then stuff it back in.
So you don't, the clamps ain't in there?
Yep, the clamps are in there.
They're still in there?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, I could feel them at first, but I don't feel them anymore ever. But for the first couple of weeks, I could feel them kind of all the time. Every time I'd piss and move my nuts a little bit.
Hey, is this a real thing?
He doesn't do fucking vasectomies. That's not even his field.
Yeah, it's
Did
more
you get a
butt
vasectomy
doctor.
before?
No, I've been a part of vasectomies.
Oh, cool. What
So,
part?
yeah. I don't feel like they're putting aluminum things in your sack, crimping them down, and then cramming them back
I don't know
up
if that
in
was
there.
aluminum, but that's what they did. Google it if you don't believe me. If you don't want to take
just
my
wanna
word for
talk
it, we've
to
known
Nate
each other
about
for 20
this.
years.
Each
Plus.
doctor does it different.
Well, I've seen where they do clips though.
Yeah,
Like when they do cholecystectomies, your gallbladder,
they're really.
they'll go
really
in there
small
and
clips.
they'll have plastic clips where they clip things off and they just leave them in the body.
Jesus.
I have a metal plate and 7 screws in my left leg. That's still in there from when I was like 19.
Doesn't that dissolve away and then like you have a real leg?
No, still the
You wanna be a
robotic.
real boy.
Still my bionic leg's the one in there.
So no.
Yeah, and I got a metal pin in my right shoulder where they had to tie the tendon
Damn.
back on. Like it's like, I don't know what it looks like. I just in my head it's like one of those screws that you put into a screen door to attach the spring to.
Yeah, drywall screws. It's the duct tape for all
Yeah.
screws.
Yeah. The screws that they put in look exactly like screws.
And I never felt that. Like I don't feel that's like, I never, of course it's healed now, but it's not like there's a piece of metal rubbing on my muscle or tendon that bothers me. They tied the tendon to it. They just went in there and, I don't know if they tied it, sewed it onto that metal eyelet, but yeah, it was completely detached. So they had to pull the tendon back out of my arm because it like went down in there. They pulled the tendon up and screwed that eyelet in there and then tied it to that, and
Perfect.
I couldn't lift my arm over this far.
But now you can.
I could go up to here, and it would just, dude, like imagine being fucking, I mean,
Oh,
can't
I
imagine
remember
being
this surgery.
paralyzed.
They had to cut through one of your tattoos.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but she lined it up pretty decent.
Yeah, she did a pretty good job on there.
But yeah, I couldn't lift my arm past here. Like it was so weird because my mind was telling my arm to go, but the material wasn't there to let it happen. But now I can go all the way up. That was wild because that broke. I was bench pressing and it broke loose, and I could hear it. Like when you're in a bathtub and you're under the water and you can knock on the side of the bathtub or you hear people talking, it was like snap. And I heard it inside my ear. Not like I couldn't hear it snap through. I heard it internally.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh fuck. And then I got up and like by the time I was leaving the gym, it wasn't really hurting, but I just couldn't lift my arm.
No shit.
Yeah, I pulled a tendon like this bicep. I don't know. See how the difference in this bicep sunk in way more?
Yeah.
I was unloading the refrigerator with a guy and the same thing. I heard it snap. But this one, I guess there was enough muscle and stuff around it that I've never had any problems, so I just never went and got it fixed. But yeah, I get it's that part's like puffed up right there to where this side's not the same. Like it sinks in there. So yeah, my right arm's been fucked. Or maybe it's my left. I don't remember. I was showing a guy. He had a pinup tattoo, and my buddy was like, "Oh, that's badass." And I said, "If you think that's badass, check this one out." And he's staring. He's like, "What am I looking at here?" I was like, "The pinup girl." He's like, "There's no fucking pinup girl." I was like, "Oh, wrong arm." Like, he showed this side. That's the pinup girl. Well, how did I remember? I've got so many tattoos.
They're so tacky.
Yeah, I know. I have a friend that does them, and the rest is history, guys.
The rest is history.
We ready to wrap this thing up?
Yeah, we're gonna have to. I gotta piss, and gonna have to be getting on the road here pretty soon. So, thanks for watching, everybody. It was a good one. We will get this uploaded and share it all over the place. If you guys would, if you could help us a lot by if you made it through this whole fucking thing, share this video.
It was all over the place. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah,
I loved it though.
it's called the Bipolar Sunrise.
I enjoyed every minute of it.
All right, go and shut us down, Captain.